All right, let's quickly look at Ethereum. Here I was looking at gold, very important zone here for gold. You see that it bottomed at the 1.618. Ideally, we'd now be expecting this thing to go right back as high as the 0.786, which is somewhere around $4,716. But there are some retracements to expect before we get there. But let's look at ETH here, shall we? So with Ethereum, we are essentially following the same thing that we have on BTC. If you look back in the past here, you will see that after the first ABC here, we come back to retest this consolidation right here. Even here, the same thing happens. We come back to retest the consolidation right here, and that is what we are most likely going to see in our modern day market with ETH. This means that we now have some zones here starting at about $2,700 to north of $3,700. Now, by my analysis, I will be expecting that Ethereum goes back to at least $3,000. The problem that I have though is where does it go after that, because well, for now we really do not know. But of course, with more data we'll be able to forecast the later projection. If we zoom into this particular region right here, because this is currently on the weekly time frame, so if we go to like the 2-hourly time frame, we should see some more interesting thing. So here on the 2-hourly, we see that Ethereum has essentially created a double bottom right here, clean double bottom. Now it is in a descending wedge right here, which it seems to have broken out of already. The question you might have is, how can we be sure that it won't just go straight down here as it did back here? Well, to know that, we have to look at the entire structure. So you'll see that from the bigger picture here, it bottomed at the 2.618 Fibonacci level after the entire move to the downside. Now, after this bottom right here, we'd expect that it goes back to the 1.618 Fibonacci level, which is somewhere around $3,126. Notice that the entire move to the downside also started with what we are looking at right here. What we are following is the ABC type formation, so A, B, and C. Now, this ABC here is what we are looking at here. So this entire move to the downside here is just the A, this retracement back up here is the B, and this move to the downside here is the C. So after this, we expect a big move back up into this region right here. Sometimes it goes somewhat higher, but at least we'd expect a 50% retracement back to the upside. Even in this particular move to the downside here, we also had the same ABC right here. So that right there was the A, this retracement back up was the B, and this right here was the C. And after the C, you see that it moves back up into the B right here. This can be demonstrated even here. So here you see that the same thing also happened. Yes, it bottomed at the 2.618 right here and came back to the 1.618 right here. Even here we also see the same ABC with a move to the upside. Yes, A, B, C, and then a move to the upside. Now the conundrum actually is that, well, after these moves to the upside, we'd expect a bigger crash, which is where I am sort of lost with ETH. But as I said, as we get more data, we will know where this thing will go later. Because in an ideal world, this move to the upside here should result in a bigger crash. And that bigger crash means that it takes this low right here, takes this low, and possibly be targeting this low right here. But again, it's not something that I want to get into right now. Let's be focused on what is before us.